Welcome to the Details Podcast, where we dive into the stories and lessons behind the world of auto enthusiasts, small business, and beyond. I'm Dan E. Williams, your host, and today I have a very special episode for you. Recently, I had the incredible opportunity to visit miles ahead in Indianapolis, Indiana, to meet up with Angela Savage and Ted Woerner. They co-authored the book Savage Angel, which I was thrilled to pick up during my visit. Not only did they sign my book, but we also had a chance to discuss the book in detail. After a couple clips featuring my conversations with Ted and Angela about Savage Angel, Angela takes me on a personal tour of her father's memorabilia, sharing some amazing stories about his life and career. Today, I'm going to take you along on that journey and share some key business lessons and answer a few of your questions. Let's get started.
So Savage Angel, it's not just a racing book. It's the most, that will be most likely of a bio about my dad's career, but I also go deep into what happens to a family after that. How do you survive trauma like that? How do you surf awake like that? And it was really difficult, and I had a really tough time the first half of my life just getting my ship to fly straight. So I probably should have put a trigger warning on here because there's a lot of things in here that I really thought I would take to the grave. But as we started writing the book, you start thinking, well, what do I put in there? What do I leave out? And it finally just got to the point where I threw my hands up and I decided just bring it all to the table, put it on the table, trade the ashes for beauty. And it's been so therapeutic. It's like a soul surgery. I cut myself open and I got the tumor out, and now the scar's even healed. So it's like all the things that really almost killed me, it's not part of me now. It's in here. So it's not my life, it's what I went through. It's not who I am, but it's what I survived. So while it was very scary, sharing a lot of things that I went through that are dark and ugly. It's definitely been worth it. And I was hoping to encourage other people, we're only as sick as our secrets, I say. And, if we could just get it up and out, like they used to teach us just to push it down and be stoic. We're smarter than that now. We know that that doesn't work. And things can come back and haunt you in horrible, weird ways. So, just getting it all up and out of you is healthy. And I'm hoping to inspire other people to really face their demons and share them. Get them up and out. As soon as you get them up and out, they lose their power over you. And I think people are so afraid to be shamed or whatever, judged. But if we all could just open up a little more, then we find out that we're really more the same than we are different. And if we learn how to share that way without judgment, then we can have more empathy for each other.
Swede was my hero when I was a kid, and of course when he died I was just devastated. And then less than a year later a book came out about the 1973 race, and in that book I learned that Swede's wife, Angela's mother, was pregnant on race day and witnessed the crash from the grandstand. So I always wondered to myself, oh my gosh, how is a child born under such circumstances, and where is that child now? I wonder how his or her life is turning out, and I wondered for 40 years. And then through Facebook and twists of fate and God's intervention, we met each other. Found out there was a gentleman here in town organizing a trip for her to come to Indy for the very first time in 2014, or first time out of the womb anyway.
Right.
And so I volunteered to help out on that, and then Angela and I met, through that effort, getting her to Indy in 2014. And then we just, we really clicked, and then we developed a friendship. And one day I just told her, we were talking about whatever, and I said, I'd really like to write a book someday. And then, our eyes locked, and we were like, oh, really?
I'm like, well, you know what you're going to write about, don't you? We were like, oh, and he's like, oh, oh. And that was it. And then we were off and running.
Off and running.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years later, we had the book done, and It's just been amazing. So for me, having been an 11-year-old fan of Swede Savage and now owning a car identical to the one he drove on the day that he broke the track record, it's just, and I drove it last year at Indy for the first time during the SVRA event in June, and that was in the color of Bobby Unser's Olsenite Eagle, but now it will be exactly. So, I bought a second set of bodywork for it specifically to turn into Swede's car, and it'll be a tribute. So it'll have Swede's name on one side of the car, just like it did in the driver, Swede Savage. And then on the other side, it'll say driver, Savage Angel, which is her nickname.
So cool. Well, what were you doing to be building cars? Like, how did...
Well, I just grew up as a race fan. My dad grew up in Indianapolis, and then, we grew up in Chicago. My mom and dad got married right out of college, and then, my dad took a job in Chicago. So I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. But we would come back and visit my dad's family in Indianapolis month of May, and you just went out to the track. And of course, he had no idea that as a 5-year-old kid, I would, flip head over heels over Indy. But I did, and the car that really caught my attention that day when I was at the track was the STP Turbine, number 40, with Parnelli Jones. So that when Swede Savage comes along a few years later and is driving the number 40 STP car, and he was clearly one cool dude, and I was really captivated by him, his name, and everything about him. Not the least reason that he was fast. He set the fastest lap in practice leading up to pole day in 1973 as a second-year driver, which is remarkable. So, I became a huge fan of his, and then before you know it, he's gone, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just got to know this guy, and then he's gone, and then I found out that, his wife, gave birth to this child after Swede had died, 3 months after he had died, and I just couldn't believe it. So we've woven Swede's story and Angela's story together, because I found her life story to be just as fascinating as Swede's, because it wasn't really until the 9/11 tragedies that people really understood the dynamic of a posthumous child, which is Angela, a child born, whose father has died in the narrow 9-month window between conception and birth. That's a posthumous child. And of course, during 9/11, there were over 100 women who lost their husbands, pregnant women who lost their husbands, during the 9/11 attacks. And then we learned about the challenges that these children had growing up, and they were almost identical to the things that Angela had to contend with. So then it all became, we started to unravel and unpack all this baggage and all this mysterious mental health issues and physical health issues that affect these posthumous children and their interrelationships with their mother and their older siblings who knew their father but they never did. And it's very complicated. And Angela went through all this, almost 30 years prior to 9/11, but it hasn't been until recently that studies have come out that have explained the difficulty that Angela had growing up. So all that's in the book.
It's been so valuable learning these things. I didn't know anything about the posthumous child and how it can alter your development and things like that. So I feel a real special bond with the 9/11 families because of them. Now we get to know, what is a posthumous child and what are our challenges. And so, knowledge is always power. So learning these things that I didn't know until we were researching together while we were writing this book, it's allowed me self-forgiveness and self-love, self-understanding. You're so hard on yourself when you can't get things right. But there was a lot of really good reasons why I was struggling. And to know that and to understand that, it really helps me understand why I was the way I was or am the way I am. And that's been my journey to self-forgiveness and self-love.
And what's really cool is everything that you guys are doing is like giving back from lessons that y'all have learned. And that's just, beautiful in its own,
It is. Yeah, it really is. It's an amazing story. And furthermore, one of the very interesting things and beautiful things that Angela has encountered in her journey back is the very similar nature of Dave McDonald and her father, Swede Savage. You can see the two cars exiting turn 4 in almost the identical attitude, and with unfortunately the same result. Dave McDonald crashed in the 1964 race on the second lap. with a fatal injury, and then Swede, of course. But these two gentlemen, I mean, they grew up like 10 miles away from each other in California. I mean, their stories are very similar. You know, these shooting stars that were immensely successful at a very early, right from the beginning, were incredible talents, and then were snuffed out, you know, at Indianapolis at the most famous race in the world. And then Angela got to meet Sherry McDonald, who was Dave's widow, who recently passed, and then Rich McDonald, the son of Dave McDonald. And so, well, you can explain it, Angela, how
well, it was always
this
chronic loneliness, because I didn't think there was anybody that could really understand, you know, what had transpired in my life, and so I didn't feel like I could relate to anybody or anything. And then you get here and you find out that not only is this family experienced the same tragedy, but in the exact same place, turn 4, and with the fire and everything. So, you know, just knowing that there's people in the world that know exactly what I'm going through, all the way down to a location, it set me free in so many ways from this chronic loneliness that I always struggled with. You know, I just always felt like a one-off, you know what I mean? Like, where's my people? And, you know, nobody wants to be in this club, you know, but once you're there, you find your people, you're not alone, and then you can bond over it. So just knowing Sherry and Rich, and also his sister Vicky, and then I also got to meet Eddie Sachs Jr. and Rick Duman, you know, all of these family members that I refer to as turn 4 kids, you know, anybody that suffered a family that suffered a fatal accident in a racing scenario. You know, like I said, it's a club nobody wants to be in, but once you're there, it's a very special bond, forged in fire, if you will.
Yeah.
This memorabilia, so we just wanted to kind of put it up and show it. You know, anyone that wants to come by, I'm usually around, or Ted's around to show it. So my dad started in motorcycles here. He did flat tracks, and I have some of the leathers. These are his original leathers that you'll see in all the photos. Here, this is his flat track leathers here, and he raced with Harley Davidson. So I've got all this cool old stuff. K&N is big around the flat track world for sponsors and stuff. So he was on the very first Honda road racing team. That's that there. Bob Hansen owned that team. And so, yeah, I have these leathers too. Right here, I'm lucky to have these because this was in a weird place for a long time. And then I have the bottoms here. Sorry, I'm moving around so much on you. But yeah, you know, I'm just really glad that I have all this stuff that people can look at. Dad was in a car club, probably more like a gang, in San Bernardino called the Sultans. I mean, how cool is that? It's so outsiders, like the movie, you know what I mean? Like, oh, the Sultans, it's going to be a rumble. You know? So he was the president of the Sultans car club, and then he was also a football champion. So this is his Letterman's jacket. In fact, in his senior year, he was the football star, but he had gone off and done some races and won some prize money, which made him a professional racer at that point. So his coach told him at that time he had to choose between racing or football, and he chose racing. I mean, he was like, he didn't get to play in the big game or anything because he now had this professional race car title or racer title because he had won. So that's how that happened. You know, he split. He could have been a professional football player, but at that moment he had to decide, and he went with the speed. Yeah, that's right. So I have all this cool stuff. I don't know if you remember STP. It's pretty iconic, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I always wanted one of, like, the full suit with the jacket and everything. I mean, what a scene, right? Yeah. Brilliant marketing. I mean, we've all got STP, like, stamped in our heads forever.
Sure. All the cars in the 70s had that sticker on them.
Right? For me, it's like Bell and STP are kind of like siblings, you know, just because they've been in my head, in my life forever. So it just feels like brothers or family or something.
And what's the other one? Thrusher? With the woodpecker head?
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Oh,
yeah. Is that a good one? So this is cool. This is from the 70s. This one that I have over here still has its, let's see, look, it still has the price tag on it from Amway. Look, with the old stick pin, $257. Or Airway, that's it. Airway. So that's kind of cool. I was thinking about doing a little throwback tee like this with the baseball sleeves or something. Yeah, so this is an iconic jacket. Here it is here. This was from his Trans Am team when he raced the 42 Barracuda. So this was the team jacket. So you can see it there. And then he had these tennies made. The team tennies are Vans. And this is like before anyone knew Vans was cool. My dad had already picked up on that and had them making custom shoes. So I like to say he helped, really bring the brand Vans out and show the world how cool they are. Because I still wear Vans. I'm wearing Vans right now. Well, these might be Converse. But it's always Vans or Converse, So I'm really super proud of these. Like, people wanted to say, those are Vans, those are, Keds or something like that. Like, no, I have it. I have them right here. House of Vans. So these are pretty cool and iconic, too. And so this is the plaque you get when you qualify for the Indy 500. Super glad to have that. I've got all these motorcycle pictures nobody's seen yet. I keep them off social media because, once they're on media, they're out for good. So I don't know. This just feels like something in my back pocket. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But like over here, we have him meeting President Nixon. And, my dad was a real jokester. So you could tell he's like cracking a joke. Like he made the president laugh. I wish I knew what he said.
It seems like all those race car guys were jokesters.
Well, I think they have that living on the edge mentality. So you're just kind of always popping off, Just a lot of energy. My dad did sideshows with Evel Knievel. This is a hand-signed contract with the man himself. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's so cool. They just did slot car this last year. So there's a Savage slot car going around, and Hot Wheels did another run. This is the 48. That's Dan Gurney's car, but I have the 42 around here too. And so these are just all the suits, that were in his trunks. All this stuff was in trunks for forever, so it's nice to have it out for people to look at. And that's actually the nose of the car that he crashed in. There's kind of a cool story behind that. My friend Pam had it in her garage for like 40 years, and she was starting to think like, why do I have this? It's kind of weird. Then she met me. She's like, oh, okay. So she gave it to me, but they were careful about how they gave it to me because it's a little triggering, right? But some people might think it's distasteful to have it up, but to me, it's how I conquered the death, right? It's like, yeah, I can look right at it and it won't slow me down. Savage never dies, right? With the dark side intended for my bad, the light intended for my good. So I'm just kind of walking that out. And I think it's neat to have because, when he hit that wall, his spirit went all through that. So to me, it's very sacred. Even though to some people it might seem dark, it's very sacred. Maybe dark to some, but I don't know. I think it's my way of showing that I've conquered it, that I can even have that around.
Yeah, there's just something about the being able to touch. I have things of my dad's who's passed away and my grandparents, and being able to touch those items, whether it's like a necklace that my grandma wore or...
I got my grandma's necklace on right now.
Well, right. There you go.
Right.
But
Grandma,
something to
auntie,
it.
Yeah, right. It's a way to keep them with us, I think, in spirit. And when we remember them, I think that keeps them alive wherever they are. We say their name and we tell their stories and, I just think that's how we keep them going wherever they are too. Like I have my dad's watch that he was always wearing, and all these pictures you'll see his watch. He was wearing it when he crashed, and it's like a miracle that I even have it. So that's cool. Here's another piece of the car. So people, they have these things, and they give them to me, which is really cool. This was George Bignotti's stopwatch that he clocked my dad on. Paul Page actually gave me that. So that was really nice. Paul's a really good friend of mine.
Yeah,
So,
Paul is awesome.
Yeah, he's just so cool and really down to earth.
So cool.
Easy to talk to. Obviously full of knowledge. Yeah, he's always a good interview. I did a show for a minute called Good News with Angela Savage, and he was one of my guests too. And we go to the shooting range sometimes together and just pop off a little bit.
Fun.
Yeah, super fun. Super fun. So yeah, he did flat tracks. So this is his steel shoe. Isn't that cool? This is one of my favorite possessions because it's just so medieval, right? I mean, come on. It's just like going that fast and you pop your little leg out there. I mean, there's no halos on the motorcycles. There's nothing. It's just the man and the bike, so you can actually see the rider and feel like you know them more because they're not like tucked in their little protective capsule kind of like they are now. But check this out. This is before the full face helmet.
Oh my.
Is that medieval or what?
Oh my goodness.
It's like I need Chianti and some fava beans.
I was gonna say it puts the lotion on its skin.
Need the lotion in the basket. Tug the rope, right? You get it. You totally get it. And then that's just why I love it, because... And I'm so into flat track right now. I went to my first flat track race a couple years ago at the Springfield Mile. And I just really haven't been the same since. Because I love how it really hasn't changed much. The danger's still there. And it's just the rider and the bike, and a lot of speed. I don't know how they do it. Like when I'm riding a bicycle, if somebody gets too close to my back tire, I'm already yelling at them like, back off.
Yeah.
So when you see them drifting on those motorcycles, it's nuts. Those guys are nuts.
No.
But my kind of nuts. You know what I mean? Just balls to the walls, if you will. Right? No fear. So yeah, this is where I keep all the stuff. His fans, they're so nice. They hand build these models and they send them to me. And yeah, I just got this one not very long ago. Both of these. This was Wood Brothers, and I don't know who was the sponsor or anything, but that was his very first race car. So someone just sent me that.
It looks like his number changed a lot over time. Like he didn't have just one iconic number that he stuck with for his vehicles.
42 was his number. That's really my, it's the family number, because that was his favorite car. And then when he went to Pat Patrick in IndyCar, they had 20, 40, and 60. So he's like, okay, 40, that's good, because it's close to 42. So I've always been like, because I was an athlete in school and stuff, so my number was always 42. And my sister, same thing. We were all 42, so that's kind of the family number to go with this one here. See, Savage Angel 42. I love that car. So pretty neat.
Wow.
Yeah, this was just in some garage forever, just hanging there, just getting all chewed up and everything. But we managed to get it back here. But yeah, it's falling apart. Hey, now.
Incredible.
Yeah, kind of neat. So his hometown track in San Bernardino at the Orange Show Speedway, they're doing a big IRMA, Indiana Racing Memorial Association. They do like plaques and put them in significant areas for drivers. They're doing one for my dad. So they're so nice. They're flying me out to San Bernardino to do that at his home track, and that's just in a few weeks.
Excellent.
Yes.
I live in San Diego.
Oh, you should probably come.
I probably should.
Yeah, you should. I'll send you an invite.
Okay.
For sure. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be really great. This is, they did a San Bernardino. In San Bernardino, there's a Swede Savage Day. So that's just what this is. When we moved here to Carmel, I moved my family here in 2018. We were putting our stuff in the garage. And we found this brick in the garage. It just happens to say Savage on it. So I knew it was like destined for me to bring my family back home again to Indiana, because this brick was waiting for me in the garage, buried under a bunch of other bricks. There were some bricks from the brickyard, and then the Savage brick. You know, just one of those things when you know you're in the right place at the right time.
Is that your mom?
Yeah, that's my mom and my sister. And she passed when she was 28. God bless her. She had leukemia. And there's me, looking like I need a nap. A little grumpy. Nothing's changed. I need a nap and I'm a little grumpy. So, yeah. When I came back, too, they did a special night at the art museum in Indianapolis here. This is Kyle Keatsman. He's the president of Bell Helmets. And he had this helmet made, you know, the replica made for me, and gave it to me at my little party. That was pretty special.
It's just outstanding for a terrible situation, but...
Right. It is. It's obviously very terrible, but, you know, you just have to face those things head first. You know, you can't... When you experience trauma in your life, you know, you can't go around it and think your life is going to go okay. You know, you really just have to charge right through it. And that's what I've done by coming back to Indiana. It's like exposure therapy is what I keep coming back to, because, you know, it's hard, but the more I face it and I'm around it, talk about it, it gets easier. And then you meet people who care and know and remember and loved him too. And then you've got other people to sort of carry the load with you. You know, it's not that I'm just trying to do this by myself, which I tried that, and it just didn't work. I was a mess. So coming back to Indiana and reconnecting with his fans and the people that loved him has been extremely therapeutic. Yeah. And, you know, the racing community really is a family. I heard that my whole life, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I was kind of bitter, but getting back here and realizing that people never forgot, and they always were sending love to me, you know, and they just welcomed me with open arms. And it's not just some weird cliche that people say that the racing community is a family. It really is. And they never forget, especially the fallen. They never forget the ones that gave their lives for the sport. You know, and after 73, a lot of safety measures changed in direct relation to his accidents and others. So, you know, I like to think that he gave his life to save many others, and that brings comfort too. Yeah. So, yeah, it is sad. It's gut-wrenching, really, but, you know, I've come such a long way in the healing process, and now instead of the trauma tearing me down and breaking me, it's empowering me and pushing me forward. So I guess that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of beautiful in its own way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey, there it is.
Now that we've seen the amazing memorabilia and heard some of Angela's incredible stories, let's take a moment to reflect on some of the key business lessons we can learn from Swede Savage's legacy and Angela's dedication. Business lesson number 1, legacy and passion. One of the most striking aspects of Swede Savage's story is his enduring legacy. Despite his career being cut tragically short, his passion for racing left a lasting impact. For business owners, this underscores the importance of building legacy through your work. It's not just about the immediate gains, but about creating something that will be remembered and valued for years to come. Angela's commitment to preserving her father's memory shows us that when you pour your passion into your work, it resonates with others and stands the test of time. Business lesson number 2, storytelling. Angela's ability to bring her father's story to life is a testament to the power of storytelling. In business, your story is a powerful tool. It helps you connect with your audience on a deeper level, building trust and loyalty. Whether it's a story of how you started your business, the unique challenges you've overcome, or the successes you've achieved. Business lesson number 3, resilience. Swede Savage faced numerous challenges throughout his career, and Angela has shown remarkable resilience in preserving his legacy. In business, resilience is key. There are obstacles, there are setbacks. It's how you respond to them that are going to define your success. Angela's perseverance in the face of adversity is a powerful reminder that resilience can help you overcome challenges and achieve your goals. By staying focused and determined, you can navigate the ups and downs of business life and come out stronger on the other side. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to answer a few questions that you, our listeners, have sent in. One of the questions we received is, what is the most surprising thing you learned during your visit with Angela? For me, it was about the sheer volume of personal stories and memorabilia that Angela and her family had preserved. Each item has a unique story, and it was fascinating to see how much passion and dedication she has put into keeping her father's memory alive. Another question that we got was, how can small business owners apply these lessons to their own business? And that is a great question. I think the key takeaway is to focus on what you're passionate about and let that drive you. Whether it's through storytelling, building a legacy, or being resilient in the face of challenges, these principles can help guide you towards long-term success. And finally, someone asked, how do we get a copy of Savage Angel? You could go to savage42.net or find Angela on Facebook at Savage Angel and get your copy. I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic read. So many great pictures in here. And I think if you really try, you can get it signed by Angela and by Ted, and I would recommend doing that too. That brings us to the end of this special episode of The Details. I hope you enjoyed the journey through Swede Savage's legacy and the wonderful insights shared by Angela. Remember, building a business is not just about the immediate wins, but it's about creating lasting impact, telling your story, and staying resilient. Thank you for joining us today, and if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, share, like, tell your friends, tell your mom. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and valuable business lessons on The Details. Until next time, keep detailing and striving for excellence.